afternoon, Golden Eagles. You're listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. I'm Sam Romeo, your Monday and Wednesday host. We've got a jam-packed show coming up with some information on Lamont Martin, drafted to the Army in 1942, but was left in Alabama. And Stephanie Perez Munzo talks about active shooter preparedness. And don't go anywhere because Tammy Greer will be here later with something you don't want to miss.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277, and the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today. Let's kick things off with some on-campus news. Southern Miss faculty and students contribute to groundbreaking National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration-funded plastic cleanup. Southern Miss professor earns national leadership role with American Speech Language Hearing Association. Southern Miss launches secondary education degree for Gulf Coast campus. In Hattiesburg news, update. Hattiesburg boil water notice has been lifted. Hattiesburg Water Park, Cedric C. Springs, makes wave in its second season's final weekend. In Mississippi news, a man arrested after making shooting threats and high-speed chase, Biloxi police says. Suspect in Hattiesburg vehicular homicide arrested over 1,000 miles away. In national news, Trump announces that Space Command is moving from Colorado to Alabama. Mother at the center of murder-suicide accused of embezzling over $600,000 from employer. A college student accused of hiding dead infant in trash bag inside closet, police says. All right, here's your pop culture scoop. Lady Gaga drops her new single, The Dead Dance, today, featured in Netflix's Wednesday Season 2. She also made a surprise appearance at the show's Graveyard Gala in New York City. MTV's Music Awards are this Sunday, September 7th, hosted by LL Cool J. Lady Gaga leads in with 12 nominations, and Mariah Carey will receive the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award. That's your pop culture scoop. Stay tuned for more updates. That was the news update for today. You're tuned into Southern Miss Radio. We'll be back in just a minute with sports and weather, but first, a quick word from our sponsor.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from Furniture Direct, with locations in Hattiesburg, Laurel, and Columbia. Are you looking for a deal? Lots of styles on a good value? You can find them on Facebook at Furniture Direct Hattiesburg for the latest specials and promotions. Or you can shop anytime at FurnitureDirectNow.com. You can see why Furniture Direct is your furniture destination.
All right, Golden Eagles, here's your Southern Miss sports scoop. Football opened the season with a 34-17 loss to Mississippi State. Despite the setback, new head coach Charles Huff remains optimistic, highlighting the team's potential and areas for improvement. To keep up with all the Golden Eagles sports activities, head over to southernmiss.com. Golden Eagles, if you're headed out, here's the weather you need to know. Today is looking mostly sunny with highs near 87 and lows around 66. Light winds and clear skies tonight. Pretty perfect weather if you're headed outside, so stay cool and enjoy it. Next up, we have Lamont Martin, drafted to Army in 1942, but was left in Alabama.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. Lamont Martin of Gulfport was drafted into the Army after graduating high school in 1942. He recalls how he and his buddy got left behind when they stopped to eat in Alabama.
I graduated from high school in 1942. I was drafted in the military in 43. I went into the Army. I was sent to Fort Benning, Georgia. And I had an unfortunate thing to happen to me on the way up there. They stopped in Greenville, Alabama to feed us on this bus. And I wasn't that hungry. Another guy was with me named Horace Otis. I used to go to school with him. He was also drafted. We saw these girls walking down the street. We went to talking with them. Pretty girls. So we followed them, went on uptown. We didn't want anything to eat. They gonna give them a hot meal in there. They'll be in there at least a good hour. We thought. When we came back, the bus was gone. So on the first day, we were AWOL. First day into the Army, we were AWOL.
To learn more, subscribe to the Mississippi Moments podcast or visit cohch.org. Mississippi Moments is supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The humanities are for everyone.
That was Lamont Martin. Let's welcome Tammy Greer to the show. Hey, Tammy, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Could you please introduce yourself and what you are here to talk about?
I'm an associate professor of psychology and director of the Center for American Indian Studies. And you all emailed me and asked me to come in and talk about the panel that I'm moderating at the Mississippi Book Festival.
What drove your interest in the study of Native people?
Yeah, so I'm Native. I'm a member of the United Homa Nation, but also like these authors on the panel who talk about Southeastern, or who talk about natives that are not very well represented. Southeastern natives are not very well represented in any literature, really, not in any sort of, facing the public way. And so I think that's not, initially, probably early on, that was purposeful. It was like a form of erasure. But today, I don't think it's purposeful at all. I think we're only 2% of the population, and it's hard to get out and do, and do the publicity that's needed to inform people about your culture and about, the native ways, Southeastern native ways, being only 2% of the population. So I think most people don't know much about natives, and I thought, we have a Center for American Indian Research and Studies, and that's my job, is to get the word out.
Thank you. Going off that, can you share a bit about your academic journey and journey that led you to where you are now?
So when I came here in 1996, I've been here a long time, and when I came, I was just happy to get a job, and I was worried about tenure, and I was doing the, research and publishing and teaching like that. But in 2003, Joe Bohannon, who was a graduate student in social work, he reached out to me and he asked me if I would help with the Golden Eagles Intertribal Society, which is the Native-focused student group that he created, and with the powwow. He was Oklahoma Choctaw, and so they powwow a lot up there. And powwow is not really traditional down here, but they powwow up there. And so he brought that with him down here, and he said, can you help? And natives are only 2% of the population. Academics, natives that have a job like I do are less than 0.5% of the population. And so when he asked for help, it was like, I have to help because there aren't many of us around to help. And so he asked, so I told him, yeah. And then he said, what do you want to bring to the group? And what do you want to bring to Southern Miss? And I started thinking about that. And I remember that our Native elders were saying that, we were losing our relationship with the natural world. We were forgetting the names of the plants in their original language. We were forgetting the uses of these plants. And, that was sad for them because we always had relationships with the rest of the natural world. And so I told Joe that we needed a garden. And so we wrote a grant to the SIVA Corporation and got just like a couple $1,000, just enough to seed a little garden. And she's 20 years old now, and she sits behind the International Building over there by the Liberal Arts Building. That round garden out there is our native plant garden, and she's built like a medicine wheel. So she has her 4 directions, which we have 4 directional teachings here. Yeah, so that's how I got. That's what led me, and that's what keeps me going here too.
I love that garden. I did not realize that it was associated with that. I love that.
Yeah.
What is the Native American panel at the Mississippi Book Festival?
The panel is called First Americans Language, Land, Language, and Legacy. And it's bringing together Jay Wesley, who is the Mississippi Choctaw cultural director, culture center director, and Chris Latreille, who is from, I think it's South Dakota, somewhere up there, and Rebecca Nagel, who's a member of the Cherokee Nation, to talk about talk about what they've written about in their books. It's Choctaw Traditions from Jay Wesley, and Becoming Little Shell from Chris Latreille, and By the Fiery Carry from Rebecca Nagel.
What will you be talking about on this panel? Could you provide an example topic?
So I had to read all 3 of these books because, to know what to ask or whatever. And so what I've found is that 2 of the books, all 3 of them really, focus on historical events that are influencing the present. And I thought that was interesting because I hear a lot of talk about people, about like, why do we have to remember the past? Why do we have to keep going into the past, digging up the past, talking about the past? What's happened has passed, and it's in the past, and maybe we should be looking to now and in the future. But in Native ways, all these stories that we have about the origin of the world, the origin of human beings, like thousands of years ago past, are constantly being retold because we know that that past influences our present and will influence our future. And we can learn from it and continue to learn from it and teach our children what to do, what not to do from those lessons in the past. And so I want to hear what they have to say about, to people who, I know they must hear it too, to people who want to forget that and challenge us when we try to relate history to modern times, So, and then the other thing I want to know from them is from their separate traditions, because we have Choctaw, Mississippi Choctaw, which is different from Oklahoma Choctaw a little bit, Cherokee, Oklahoma Cherokee, and Little Shell, which is a northern tribe. I would like to know what they think are the most important things that their culture have to offer us today. So what is it that we need to remember and carry on into and beyond the 7th generation, because they're necessary, life-giving, they improve survivability, really. Like, what is it from your tribe that you can share that'll make people go, wow, I never thought of it like that before. Maybe I should be doing things a little bit differently. That.
On the Southern Miss page, where there is a mention of an honor from the Mississippi Humanities Council, would you mind talking a bit about that?
That was an education award, and it was given to me, and I stood up there and accepted it and got all dressed up, but I also brought a lot of people with me to that award, because that award is not about me. It's about me, but also all the help I have with all the things that we're doing, because none of it could be possible just because of me. That's honest. And so, like, we have a center and a minor and a school day. We have outreach. We have the garden that we take care of. And I'm the face of that. But without Sonia Monk, who's Mississippi Choctaw, and Ken York, we wouldn't have a center. They're the ones who requested the center. I told them to go to the provost. He created a center. We wouldn't have the space on campus, behind that beautiful space for the garden, if it wasn't for Greg Lassen, who was CFO at the time, who gave us that space. I thought we were going to be put out in the woods, but he gave us that space right there. And the university was okay with that some kind of way. Joe and Merrill Willis from Oxford, Mississippi brought down 500 native plants and turned our garden from whatever we could put in there to a native plant garden, which is what we wanted. And Physical Plant now helps with the garden. We have tribal members who help tend the garden. Monique Verdun comes down and documents for us, and she's a member of my tribe. Jeannie Gillespie directs the minor, and she's co-director of the center. So I brought all those people with me to the awards ceremony and called them out because none of this, I mean, I go around and have the mic, but none of this could happen without all those people as well. And we have a powwow every year and a school day every year. And last year, we got money from the graduate school, the College of Nursing, the President's Office, the College of Nursing and Health Professions, the School of Social Science, Global Studies, College of Arts and Letters, the Department of Psychology, Interdisciplinary Studies. A lot of it really takes an entire village. And, you know, you don't see it, but we have a village here at Southern Miss supporting what we're doing.
Congratulations on that award.
Thank you.
Of course. You are the director of USM's Center for American Indian Indian Research and Studies. Can you explain what your everyday looks like and the responsibilities you have?
Right now, today, and for the last week, I'm writing letters to fundraise for the powwow. So I write letters to campus folks and ask for help with our expenses. The Golden Eagles Intertribal Student Organization, who is led by Alice Keats, who's a former Choctaw Indian princess. They're going to go out into the community and ask for donations. I'm getting ready. We're planning a 20th year birthday party for our garden and organizing that event. I give lots of talks. So I went to the Genealogical Society yesterday and gave a talk at 7 o'clock last night. And I have a talk tomorrow on Zoom about the garden. I'm here today. I'm going to the Book Fest on September 13th. I'm going to lead a nature journaling workshop in Clinton in October. I'll be on a panel about indigenous health at Tulane at the medical school in October on a Friday. Then on Saturday, I'll go give a talk at the William Bartram Conference in Louisiana. In November, I have a native plant dyes and pigments demonstration at the National Folklife Festival in Jackson. It's held in Jackson this year. And then we have in November as well the powwow and the garden birthday. And then in December, I'm the photographer for my own tribe, going around to different communities. There's a former chief that goes around as Native Santa, and I'm the photographer. And I just recently published a couple of articles about the garden, one with Jennifer Lomax, who's in the College of Nursing and Health Professions. So I'm busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Very
I'm
busy. Are you currently working on any research projects? If so, could you please share about it? If not, what's your favorite project you've worked on in the past?
That Jennifer Lomax and I just finished a project with NIH called Okla Chukma, meaning healthy people, where we were looking at common barriers and facilitators to hearing about and joining a Healthy Ways program. Some tribes, some of our folks live 20 years less than the general population. So we have kids here who, during their time here, their parents are passing away because the average age of death is in the 50s instead of in the 70s or 80s in some. So we did that NIH. I just submitted a grant to Templeton so that my health psych lab, I have a health psych lab, and we want to use traditional Native stories to build character virtues. I'm thinking, along with like bringing back the plants, we need to bring back our stories, because our stories were used traditionally to reduce risky behaviors. Y'all, your age, kids, the risk behaviors go up, and bad things happen when you engage in negative, risky behaviors. And some of these stories would challenge you and, teach you and sort of give you the means to not do that. And also, there's a relationship between character virtues and risky behaviors, in that the more character virtues you have, the fewer risky behaviors you engage in. So I want to bring back our stories for that.
What are the biggest and or most common challenges you have noticed in the world of culture-related programs?
Culture is hugely influential in our everyday lives, and cultural differences are hard to detect as cultural differences and hard to understand and easy to misinterpret. And I'll give you an example. So they asked me, this was, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. They asked me to come to a dorm and talk to the folks in the dorm about the natives of this area. Well, the native group that I had at the time, the Golden Eagles and Tribal Society group, had been complaining to me that they thought that they were being not discriminated against, but looked down upon. And I couldn't, they said they thought it was because of their shoes. They were wearing slides and socks at the time, and they thought maybe that's culturally inappropriate. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. But when they asked me to come and talk with this dorm group, I thought, well, there'll be a mix of kids there. I'm going to bring my kids. And so I brought the native students over there. And so we got there, and I introduced myself, and I huddled them up, and I said, look, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go around, and you're going to introduce yourself to these people in the way that your grandma would introduce herself to very prestigious, you know, people, very highly regarded people. And they're like, okay, okay, okay. So they went around, their eyes were cast down, which is a sign of respect. The handshake was super soft, which is a sign of respect. And they did this with everybody, and they came back to me. And so I asked, and they're standing over here, and I said, so guys, the dorm guys, I'm like, so what did you think about that? Do they want to meet you? Were they excited to meet you? Were they interested in you? And the dorm people, without exception, said, no, they didn't want to meet us. They looked down. They never looked me in the eye. When they shook hands, it was like they didn't want to touch me. And my native kids over here, their mouth was hanging open. Literally, their mouth was open because they had been as respectful as they possibly could be to those kids. And so I talked to them about that. I talked to everybody about that. So, because what we do is, when it doesn't come off the way we expect, is we make a judgment. And the judgment for people in another culture is usually not good. So, but the native kids too heard that and realized that it wasn't personal. It was a judgment made out of just ignorance about what they were intending to do. So it helped them sort of not take it personally. And then it helped these guys, I think, because that's what they told me, sort of wait on that judgment for a minute, take a breath,
How do you think people can better their understandings of other cultures regardless of major or occupation?
I think it's important to withhold that judgment. Sort of, it's like get to know somebody, get to know them pretty well before you judge them. And unless it's life and death, if it's life and death, you make that decision. But otherwise, slow down and wait before you take and make a judgment about their character or their interest in you or their worthiness of your friendship. There's a plant in the garden called Spanish dagger, and every time I get near that plant, she pokes me and she makes me bleed. She's made me bleed 100 times because I'll back into her, And, it'd be easy for me to go, I'm going to cut that plant out. I'm just going to cut it out because she makes me bleed when I touch her, when I don't respect her boundaries, basically, is what it is. And I don't respect who she is as a plant. And then, but here's what you got to know about Spanish dagger. This is the reason why I hang on to her. Her roots are soap. They have saponins. You can take the root, put it in water. It makes like a soapy, you can wash your clothes. Not only that, those things that make you bleed, the pokey things, they're a needle. And if you pound the leaf up further, it's the thread. You can sew your clothes. You can wash them. You can sew them. There's a stalk that comes up. You can eat the flowers. The stalk is pithy. You can make fire with it. Who would get rid of that, right? Yes, she pokes, but if I pay attention to who she is and be respectful of that. Oh my gosh, what else? You know, she does so much more than that. And I think that's what we need to do with people that we don't recognize or understand or who poke us, you know?
That is a wonderful way to think about it. I love that. And my last question, what are some challenges you have faced in your field?
I think for me, when you're coming in with a cultural lens, which I came in with my tribal cultural lens, like when you come in with a lens like Western science is the best, Western science is the best, that's a culture. And then you tend to want to see the world through that. You tend to only be able to see the world through those glasses. And that's problematic when you're dealing with people from other cultures because they're not wearing the same glasses that you're wearing. And so you're looking at exactly the same thing and you're seeing something totally different because your glasses are different. I come in and I have to live in both those worlds. So I'm constantly pulling one off and putting the other one on and pulling one off and putting the other one on. And I know that that's needed. But sometimes when I enter, if I'm tired or I'm not thinking or I haven't, sometimes even I have the wrong glasses on and make a mistake that is trouble just waiting to happen. And I see myself do that, so I know, like people working that don't even have the different glasses, I see where they're coming from because I do it too. You know, in both environments I do it, so.
Thanks so much, Tammy Greer, for joining us today and sharing your voice with our Eagles. We really appreciate it. Just as a contents warning, please be advised this report will cover sensitive topics. Coming up, we've got a news wrap from Stephanie Perez Munzo, talks about active shooter preparedness.
Active shootings in America have been an issue for years. Students are expressing how they think USM is prepared. Sophomore Kennedy Marshall believes that USM is equipped to handle an active shooting.
I feel like USM is prepared because if you go on campus, the camp police is pretty, they're pretty vigilant.
On the other hand, senior Gabby King does not feel that USM is prepared for an active shooting.
Personally, no, just because of Hattiesburg in general. I feel like most shootings that have happened aren't handled efficiently because they keep happening repetitively over and over again.
Although students had mixed emotions about USM's active shooter procedures, Chief of Police Rusty Keys assures that USM is prepared.
First thing to know is that no active shooter situation is the same. There's the unknowns, things you cannot factor in, but to overall plan and prepare for situations such as an active shooter, UPD, the University of Southern Mississippi, is very prepared.
University Police had their annual active shooter training this month. Chief Keys explains why training with local authorities is important.
We train together so we all do the same thing at the same time. We know how to respond. We know what kind of teams we got to put together to respond to the situation and what kind of building and how to communicate. We talk the same language. So that's why we train, and that training is very successful. We've been doing it for years.
Students can visit usm.edu/police for more information such as an active shooter training video. I'm Stephanie Perez Munoz with SMTV.
Thanks for listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. Big thanks to Seb, our audio engineer, Carl, our assistant producer, and Meadow, our video producer, for keeping this bird flying. A special thank you to our program director, Adeline Fields, and our general manager, Dr. Martin. We appreciate everything you do. I'm Sam Romeo, signing off. Don't just get through the day, make it count. Keep shining. Be someone.